Ladies and gentlemen, I have a question for you. We all know the isekai genre is basically a little overblown, but one of the best ones so far that's actually really good and that comes to mind, of course, tickles that freedom that we all know and love, is of course Gate. While Gate, of course, is basically, to many on the surface, is your basic harem isekai, in my mind it's untapped potential, where modern Japanese, or at least modern military against medieval forces. However, someone else actually thought of this and said, hey, what would happen if the entire country of Japan was transferred to another world? That's where we get Japan summons. However, someone else said, let's take it one step further. Because if you look at the comments section of any of the chapters of course, be it Gate or otherwise, they always bring up the fact, what if America was transferred to another world? What if America got involved in the isekai genre? Well, ladies and gentlemen, the author Ron, the Black Cat, I may have said his name wrong, actually thought of this and made a online novel that, my god, if made into a comic book, would be amazing! Or hell, even adapted into a manga would be amazing. Hell, any sort of medium, a visual medium for this, even a radio play would be amazing. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you America in Another World. Oh yeah! Now, what is America in Another World? America in Another World is a beautiful, beautiful wet dream that I absolutely love, but actually takes it in a more realistic, more serious sense. Because in terms of which America, it's not the America of the height of the Vietnam War, as many people would actually say, because of course we'd be dropping napalm left and right. It ain't America during World War II, because if that was the case, we'd be basically bombing the hell out of people left and right. No, 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 no. It is America after the Iraq War. It is America in the 20-teens. Not in the 2020s, in the 20-teens, meaning this is America in 2019. And while we don't, of course, have our El Presidente Trumpe, well, it is still it is still a president who honestly loves his sleep and doesn't take shit from nobody. Although I would have loved if it was a Reagan type, in my opinion. But anyway, going forward, yes, there are going to be spoilers, but I'm going to be treating this like a history lesson. So, here we go. So how does the book start off? The book starts off with the fact of satellite images don't match up. It literally starts with the president asleep, trying to enjoy his sleep. He gets a call, basically gets called up saying, Mr. President, it's urgent, we need you in the situation room. He hangs up the phone, goes back to sleep saying, 15 more minutes. It isn't until he comes back to the situation room to find out America's been transported to another world, along with all of its assets and its bases, basically put back in the United States, and all foreigners who are non-Americans completely out. And I gotta say, that's actually kind of cool. Oh, I did forget to mention that the opening thing of the actual manga, or not the manga, my bad. I keep thinking Japan Summon. I'm sorry, folks. The actual opening of the book starts off with some unknown voice looking at different worlds, trying to figure out what they're going to get. And I absolutely fucking love it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is where it gets a little better, because the first actual thing that anyone would do would be exploration and understanding what's going on. The region above the United States, which of course would be considered Canada, is no longer there, but the bases are there, or at least the bases that were in Germany. At which point we follow soldiers trying to figure out what is going on. Even the president makes an address saying, hey, this is what happened, we're basically in another world. But what I gotta love is that it's not just this. Oh no. Because the first thing they encounter in the new world are fucking pterodactyls!
Excuse me, what?
Okay, not pterodactyls, but something of that nature. They encounter big birds, which could be sort of like a pterodactyl. The way I see it is I relate it to a thunderbird, for anyone who understands Native American lore or Native American mythology. And then one unlucky trooper sadly gets eaten.
Oh my god! They killed Kenny! You bastard!
I'm sorry, has anyone not remembered Jurassic Park or even The Lost World? When you see a giant bird the size of a pterodactyl, I think the first inclination I think anyone should immediately think of would be the scene from Jurassic Park where the dude gets eaten. Yeah, I'm sorry, if I saw a giant bird, the first thing I would be doing is not stand there awestruck and gawking at this huge thing. My first inclination is immediately finger on the trigger ready to shoot the thing, or at least fire up a warning shot at it and try and scare it away. Which, that doesn't happen. No, the dude gets eaten, like that dude from Jurassic Park. Again, I still love that scene. I will use that clip lots. I really will. Anyway, but the beautiful thing about this is that, of course, America, they prepared for this. Because they go out there with some LAVs, they go out there with some Bradleys, they go out there and they just start raising hell against these things. And they start lighting up the skies with tracer rounds and rockets. Yeah, my freedom boner is basically like half-mast at the moment right now with this, but it's gonna get, but yours is gonna get full-mast. I can say it's great, it's gonna get better, folks! Now, it doesn't just stop there. We go off to the southern continents, where we find out this world is pretty big. This new world does have civilizations. However, some of the civilizations discovered so far are in 3 different centuries. One continent is essentially pre-World War I, with steamships, things like that. There's a mass strip of land, which is essentially no man's land, with trenches, much like World War I. The other continent, which has massive coastal guns, is about the height of World War I technology. So they have, so from that, because me being a gun guy, I can immediately assume, okay, so they have bolt-action rifles, they have Maxim machine guns, and their tanks probably aren't that good, which we'll get into in a minute. And then the last one is castles, be it like 17th century Europe, meaning they essentially have muskets and flintlocks, things like that. Think Revolutionary War, essentially, in terms of the technology they have. And the next big thing for America is to try and establish diplomatic relations and contact with these people. Well, they ain't the only ones, my friend, because the one continent, which is actually to the left, the west side of Florida, is the, well, Imperium. Yes, I know they have a full name, but I'm just going to call them... I'm going to try and shorten it down, because if I tried saying the full name of these guys, it would not do well. I would stumble on the words, basically. I really do wish the author would actually have a little thing of how to pronounce these people. Either way, though. The Imperium understands that something's going on with, of course, the Northern Lands, which to America is called the Northern Frontier. They call it the Northern Frontier. I like that. I actually do like that. I mean, anything that you can identify, just call it a frontier. I mean, Alaska is still considered a frontier, so... Which actually does raise a question. Was Alaska transport also? That's my question. Was Alaska transport also along with Hawaii, since both of those are technically American states? Just asking the offer at the moment. Just kind of curious. Either way, though. Moving on. So, essentially, the Imperium sends out a small fleet of steamboats. Yeah, steamboats. They start getting closer. They're detected off the coast of the United States, and they come across an aircraft carrier. Because of course they would. At which point, the captain of that ship, of the American ship, is basically told, try and establish diplomatic relations. We don't want to start a war. We want to know what the hell this world is, what is going on. At which point they send out a rib. For those of you who don't know what a rib is, think an inflatable boat, essentially. Battlefield 4. Think the boats in Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 3, which you can basically go around, has the minigun on the front, and you basically, able to do that. You get what I'm saying. Anyway, though. Basically a little speedboat in Battlefield 3 and 4. Moving on. At which point the two captains, or at least what would be the lieutenant, of course the lieutenant, why wouldn't it be a lieutenant? Where the hell's the smedge? Where's the sergeant major? Where's the smedge? To anyone who gets that, you know who you are. Either way, though. So, they make contact with these steamboats, and immediately there is a language barrier. But the cool thing is that the author actually didn't try to make up their own language. No, they decided what will be more sensible. Since this is a European continent, or at least the way they're designed is somewhat of a European continent, it would make sense that it'd be some form of French, or even, if they wanted to, Anglo-Saxon. But instead they went with the Latin route. Which does make sense. In our world, the most advanced civilization at the time was Latin, was either the Greek continents or even the Roman continents. essentially Italy, which is a form of Latin. So it would make sense that Latin would be a type of advanced language, which to them, Latin is known as common. I gotta love the D&D reference, I really do. Just, it's like a common language, essentially. Instead of doing the whole thing like in, of course, Japan Summon, or at least any other isekai novel, any other isekai what have you, instead of it being seen as a, more or less a type of its own language, instead of the protagonist basically being able to understand the language right away, and in their mind, they're speaking Japanese, and the other people's receiving in mind, they're speaking their language, they're speaking common. It's definitely a good way to basically understand it. And what I gotta love is the author actually outlined the Latin in orange and other languages in green. I love it. I really do. Good on you, author. Now understand now, we're basically 3-4 chapters in already, I've just explained, so yeah, if you want to read this yourself, down below is the link to the actual online book itself, and I recommend you read it because it is a great, beautiful novel. It's a beautiful story. I love it. But I know a lot of you are probably wondering, when are we going to get the freedom? When are we getting to the freedom bringing? When are we getting to the full form of democracy? Hold your horses. We're getting there, my dude. We're getting there. Anyway, the captain of the steamboats, and of course of the Imperium, immediately makes contact with the Americans. Since there's a language barrier, they decide to go with, of course, a type of sign language, motioning that that ship is with them, and him motioning that the ship is with them, and even pointing to the flags, or at least attempting to. Basically, in my mind, I pictured the scene of them trying to motion, or at least hand sign in a way, what they do. But thankfully enough, they do motion that the captain in this ship follow that ship to what he pointed, my guess, is to the mainland, which would be Florida, or at least the Florida Keys. At which point they do follow. Then they finally get a translator. Thank God. A diplomat is there, Diplomat Underwood, which I swear to God is a House of Card reference. I really hope that's a House of Card reference because, yeah. Anywho. So they do have a Latin translator, translating, of course, between the Imperium and the United States, saying that the United States was transported to another world, they're exchanging information, and we find out exactly what is going on. We have the Bim Kingdom, which is still in the 17th century. We then have the Mach, M-A-C-H, Mach, whichever one. Basically, we're going to call him Mach. Matcha. Either way, though. Mach. The Mach Kingdom and, of course, the Imperium have been at war with each other because the Mach does not like magic. They don't believe in magic, things like that. While the Imperium believes in magic and likes the incorporation of magic and trying using it into advancing technology. Which is something I think a lot of people don't understand, is that magic can actually be used to advance technology. Be it in engineering, be it in infrastructure, or even other elements of the world. Hell, if you actually read Release That Witch, be it the web novel or even the online comic, you can see that that protagonist of that actually uses witches to help with infrastructure, designing new medicines, fighting diseases, weapons development. Magic can be used to help advance a civilization, and that's what the Imperium does. They use magic to help advance civilization and technology. However, their technology is still pre-World War I. Think Spanish-American War. Technology, essentially. Now, moving on. The Mach and the Imperium are basically in a stalemate, and I kind of love this. The Imperium tries to convey to the United States that they should have a military pact with them, that they would offer the United States protection.
You serious?
And of course, they even try to stress that the Mach have tanks, which you have pictures of, which of course is the Renault F1. I may have butchered that, but the World War I tank that the French designed. Which I laugh again! And of course they try to stress that they have a new tank too, which is basically a land ship, the Mark IV tank. And they even try to stress they have machine guns! Okay. We'll get to that. We'll get there. I promise. We'll get there. Okay? We'll get there. Anyway, moving on. So they do get an ambassador there. They basically start talking, all that good jazz. And while the United States is not for a military pact, they more are happy to sign a non-aggression pact, a treaty. And while, yes, the Emperor of the Imperium is not exactly happy with the fact that they aren't accepting their help, they are more at least happy to do a non-aggression pact and even do trade and, of course, economic, while at the same time exchanging information. The Mach, on the other hand, find out about this new thing, and they send out a fleet. And the Emperor of the Mach, think the Mad King of Britain, King George the Fourth, I think, or basically the guy who was leading England during the Revolutionary War period of the United States history, of our history at least. And I can assure you it ain't that great, because he's going basically bonkers trying to basically have the United States the vassal state. Okay. Moving on, because, the things I'm gonna spoil, I'm gonna tell you that happened. Oh, it's so good. Either way, though. Moving on. What I gotta love about this is that, of course, the United States is not one to bow down or be brought into a war. Because, once again, when the military pact came up, the United States didn't want to get dragged into a war because Iraq is still very much so still fresh in our mindset. Even though all of our embassies, all of our forces, everything have been brought within the United States borders. Which I'm still curious if Alaska and Hawaii is technically there as well. I'm a little curious. I really am. I really want to know. Either way, though. So the fleet, the Mach fleet, before the Mach fleet even arrived, the Imperium does get a temporary embassy. They're even given provisions, everything like that. But when the Mach fleet come in, the ambassador immediately tells them that they have to immediately sign, that they have to. He is imploring the United States, which he thinks is about the size of Florida, or at least it's still a small island, and he believes they're still underdeveloped. Even though he's seeing basically flat screen TVs, advanced cars, electricity, wireless cell phones, things like that. You know, everything should be clicking in his mind, but whatever. You know, just keep thinking we're a barbaric state. Okay. Moving on. At which point in time, the Mach fleet immediately come within the waters. However, a patrol plane from the United States announces, in Latin of course, to immediately halt, and we will accept a diplomat. Please send a single ship forward with the diplomat. Now, I should immediately mention that the fleet that is sent to the United States is basically World War I fleet. So dreadnoughts, battleships, some steam-powered destroyers. Basically all steam-powered, not really oil or any sort of driven... Yeah, whatever. Anyway, moving on. So the ambassador, or at least the diplomat that's sent from the Mach is, of course, as well as the BIM. I forgot to mention the BIM have sailboats. So, yeah, whatever. Anyway, though. They come to the United States, they greet them, the news press is there, and let's just say that